iti namine namaho Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishna Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sanyavadi Paschachade Sakarine Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sanyavadi Paschachade Sakarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanandi. Final session of Canto 10, Chapter 12. Krishna is going to finish the Aghasura demon. And much of what we are going to hear this evening, some percentage of it at least, is what we heard on Sunday, but that's okay to hear again and again. And something that we heard yesterday evening, tonight's verses from Stava, Krishna Lila Stava, prayers of Sanatana Goswami, and he offers prayers to Srimad Bhagavatam. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O giver of saintliness to the unsaintly, O uplifter of the very fallen, please do not ever leave me. Please become manifest upon my heart and my throat, accompanied by pure love of Krishna. Very nice prayer, huh? And, oh, Srimad Bhagavatam, oh, my only friend. He has other friends. He has many other friends. But he's the friend of all friends, only friend. My companion, my teacher, oh, my great wealth, oh, my deliverer, oh, my good fortune, oh, my bliss. I offer respectful obeisances unto you. Again and again. It's like a Hare Krishna mantra, again and again. So here we are. Krishna is looking inside the mouth of Aghasura. He sees the cowherd boys running into the mouth of Aghasura. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated as Antaryami, the Supersoul, in the core of everyone's heart, heard the boys talking among themselves about the artificial python. Unknown to them, it was actually Aghasura, a demon who appeared as a python. Krishna, knowing this, wanted to forbid his associates to enter the demon's mouth. But for some reason he didn't say it. But he did want it. Knowing it was only, this is Jiva Goswami, knowing it was not only a python, but the Rakshasa named Agha, since he was in everyone's heart as Paramatma, was the inspiration for all things and was endowed with all powers, Bhagavan. He wanted to prevent them. So here's Jiva Goswami continuing with the same notion. You heard this yesterday. No, heard it Sunday. When Ramachandra, from Priti Sandarbha, when Ramachandra entered the forest, and Lakshmana was also absent, the worst of the Rakshasas, Ravana, kidnapped Sita Devi, the daughter of the king of Videha, just as a tiger seizes an unprotected sheep when the shepherd is absent. Then, Lord Ramachandra wandered in the forest with his brother Lakshmana as if very much distressed due to separation from his wife. Thus, he showed by his personal example the condition of a person attached to women. Though internally Rama was controlled by prema, externally he announced the result for persons who freely associate with women by performing actions of indifference. In manifesting pastimes where he is absorbed in human actions with intense prema for his devotees, sometimes the Lord shows bewilderment, contrary to his omniscience. But that bewilderment, that's a good quality. It's not a fault, since it bestows happiness of priti to the wise, for his bewilderment supports the sweetness of his pastimes. He accepts this bewilderment by his will, willingly bewildered, for sake of demonstrating on the external worldly attachment side and the internal prema side. They look like they're contradictory. There's a nice piece of artwork for you. Aghasura swallowing the unlimited numbers of calves and cowherd boys. In the meantime, while Krishna was considering how to stop them, all the cowherd boys entered the mouth of the demon. The demon, however, did not swallow them, for he was thinking of his own relatives who had been killed by Krishna and was just waiting for Krishna to enter his mouth. So we know this one because we've heard it several times. The relatives, his own relatives, means Putana and Aghasura, or the sister and the brother. And since Krishna had killed his sister and brother, he wanted revenge. So he didn't close his mouth and swallow the cowherd boys and calves. He wanted everybody. So this is commentary by three of our acharyas, singing trio. Just as he desired and decided to stop them, the boys along with the calves entered the snake's mouth. Does this mean Krishna's Satya Sankalpa Shakti, through which his every wish is fulfilled, did not work? This is a phrase that our acharyas like, and I particularly like also. Satya, one of the meanings is truth. Satya, that which bears the truth. Sankalpa means intention or desire. And Satya Sankalpa Shakti, that Krishna's Shakti or potency, that he just desires something and it happens. We discussed this a little bit, several times. And that's how Krishna's, in speaking in general terms, that's how Krishna's pastimes happen. He doesn't have to say anything, he doesn't have to do anything, he just desires something. And by that sankalpa, or that desire, ichcha, there's a Shakti, ichcha Shakti, or Satya Sankalpa Shakti. And then things start to flow. The things that start to flow are his subpotencies that understand what Krishna wants. And when Krishna wants, it happens because he wants. And therefore it happens because he's the Ishvara Parama. He's the controller of everyone and everything. So the question being raised by these three acharyas is, what happened? Did his Satya Sankalpa Shakti take a vacation? What happened? On the other hand, there's the cowherd boy's desire, and that if it is a wicked demon that wants to kill us, let's go, because Krishna will kill him. They have that kind of confidence in Krishna, and therefore their desire for adventure and examining new situations and checking it out and all of those things, they're fearless because Krishna will protect us. And off they went, even just against Krishna's will. So of the two desires, Krishna subordinates his will to the desire of his devotees, even if it means whatever it means, because they're his devotees. These are his pure devotees. It's Krishna's nature. It's the nature of love. And so that was arranged, that they entered was arranged by Lila Shakti. Because Krishna wanted to subordinate his will to their will. Although he didn't want them to do something, his will became subordinate to their will. And that, according to Vishwanath, resolves all contradictions. There's one other thing, we've spoken about this. We'll say it again in a slightly different way. If there are circumstances, from time to time, there are circumstances in the unfolding of Krishna's pastimes that seem bewildering or confusing, like the Krishna's bewilder is bewildering. So there are two lenses you can look at a situation like that. One is the Rasa lens, and the other is the Lila Shakti lens. And the Lila Shakti lens is, Krishna wants that looks like he doesn't want, or even explicitly he doesn't want, but he wants. So what is it? What is it that he wants? In this case, he wants to demonstrate the desire of my devotee supersedes my desire. And there's other sub-wants. Krishna wants to kill the demon, but he could kill the demon without having the cowherd boys enter the mouth of the demon. So he's exhibiting a Leela Shakti episode. But there's other lenses, at least another lens is the rasa lens. So Leela Shakti knows that Krishna wants to experience secondary rasas. And so Leela Shakti arranges. Krishna becomes astonished, and Krishna becomes filled with compassion. And then that subsides, and he takes some appropriate action. So the pastimes of Krishna are rasa-filled, and we may not understand the intention because we're not tuned into the rasa that Krishna wishes. And then Leela Shakti is, and Leela Shakti makes arrangements that seem surprising or contradictory. And therefore, Leela Shakti, seeing with that lens of Leela Shakti, it resolves the contradictions. Text 27. Krishna saw that all the cowherd boys who did not know anyone but him as their Lord had now gone out of his hand and were helpless, having entered like straws into the fire of the abdomen of Aghasura, who was death personified. So there's the body language. Krishna's holding up his hand. Stop. But he didn't say stop. And they entered. It was intolerable. So Krishna is going to experience an emotion that is not the everyday emotion. It was intolerable for Krishna to be separated from his friends, the cowherd boys, and vice versa. Therefore, as if, seeing that this had been arranged by his internal potency, Krishna was momentarily struck with wonder and unsure what to do. The unusual, out of character, omniscient being not sure what to do, and struck with wonder, as if he didn't know what to do. Seeing the boys, commentary, seeing the boys escape from his hand, Krishna was astonished at the accents of his Leela Shakti. What was the cause of astonishment? Quote, it is not possible for these cowherd boys to have prarabdha karma. And besides, the Supersoul does not give them the tendency for karma. So they're two separate statements. We discussed this, yes? Should I do it again? Okay, I'll do it again. Prarabdha karma. For those of you that like nectar devotion or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you know that karma has different stages. And it starts with a seed. And then the seeds start to fructify. Seeds can sit in a jar or a bag or something for a long time. And then at some point in time, right conditions, etc., the seed starts to germinate. So that's the second. It starts to fructify. Third, it becomes almost manifest. And then two little leaves pop out of the seed, and there's some leaves. And the leaves unfurl. So as they start to manifest, that's prarabdha karma. And there's different adjectives for the different stages. So there's no prarabdha karma for the cowherd boys, because the reactions to their whatever it is gone, because they're pure devotees. And because they're pure devotees, then something that may be taken away, if the seed is taken away, still there may be some tendency. Some of you have done gardening. I've done some gardening. One of the things I like to do, one of the things I like to do, because my father liked to do, is he liked to garden. He liked me to be by his side and help him with his gardening. You're smiling. You probably know the same thing. So, one of the things with gardening is you want the right things to grow and you don't want the other things to grow. So there's weeding of gardens. So you water the garden, and what grows faster than what you want to grow is the weeds, always. So you pick the weeds. But when you pick the weeds, you don't just clip the weeds the story. You don't just clip them at the top because the root is there. You have to pull the root. When you pull the root, what happens? After some time, you water the garden. There's more weeds because there's seeds. So it takes a long time to get a nice garden where there's not too many overabundant weeds, but there's always so many. So, like gardening, practice of bhakti is like gardening. It's sometimes compared to gardening, and you pull the roots, and the ideal is by pulling the root, then the tendency to reappear again is taken away. But more subtle than the root of a weed is tendency. What's the tendency? The tendency is what brings us to the material world and keeps us here is wanting to be a separate enjoyer. Tendency. So you can remove the weeds, but the tendency may still be there. So his statement is, Vishwanath, Paramatma, the super soul within the heart of the cowherd boys, does not give them the tendency to act independently for enjoyment's sake. So it's astonishing that according to this Lila Shakti's arrangement, the cowherd boys are doing something that's not within Krishna's interest. Because Super Soul is my expansion, Lila Shakti does not do anything unfavorable to me. Therefore, Lila Shakti has made this seemingly, this is the resolving contradictions topic, seemingly unfavorable arrangement with the desire to put me, full of prema, into the compassionate mood, Karuna Rasa. How astonishing is her control over me, the form of all rasas, the king of all leelas, Leela Purushottama. We discussed this, I remember clearly. It's not that there's Krishna and then there's above Krishna. There's no such thing. But the Leela Shakti may act in such a way as if above Krishna because Krishna has a desire. And the special spike or strong accentuation of compassion is the desire that Krishna wishes, so Leela Shakti arranges it so that something that's against his will, apparently, happens, so Krishna can feel great compassion. It's bring it way down to our level, and the doubt. God is all good, God is all great, he's all powerful. So why do people suffer? Why does he allow for people to suffer? Is he doesn't care? He's just callous and doesn't care, and people can suffer and go to hell, and it's okay with him because they get punished because they deserve to be punished, and they get punished, and it's okay because they deserve to be punished. So it's not like that. So then, if it's not like that, then what is it? In the internal energy of Krishna and the external energy of Krishna mirror one another. And the internal energy is Krishna's happiness. And Krishna's happiness is feeling compassion for the living entities that have gone astray. So Krishna feels compassion, but they're put into a situation that appears to be what it isn't. It appears to be anything that appears, happiness or distress appears to be what it isn't. And either are not situation that Krishna wants. What he wants is the direct connection. And some living entities say no. In the case of Leela Shakti, it's as if they're saying no, but they're not really saying no. They're just little cowherd boys wishing to play. And they see whatever the creature, whether it's a playground and a clay statue or a living entity wants to kill them. It's their indifference is not due to callousness. They're feeling full protection of Krishna, so Krishna's feeling compassion and gets the opportunity to rescue them. Okay, now they entered, and he didn't close his mouth. So now what to do? How could both the killing of the demon and the saving of the devotees be performed simultaneously? The answer didn't come to him right away, although he's the source of everything. It's another Leela Shakti arrangement. Krishna, being unlimitedly potent, decided to wait for an intelligent means by which he could simultaneously save the boys and kill the demon. Because if he just killed the demon, then the cowherd boys are still stuck in his body. And that's not good. He didn't want that. So how to kill the demon and rescue the cowherd boys at the same time. So then he decided how to do it. He paused. It's sometimes good to pause if you're not really sure what to do. Not that we're Krishna or imitators of Krishna, but it's a nice example. Wait for the clarity of the proper choice of what to do, and he chose what to do. Krishna saw the perfect way, ashesha drik, to enjoy pastimes and liberate the demon, to protect the devotees and destroy the rascals. He saw the unlimited calves and boys. He then entered the snake because he was overcome with affection by seeing their condition. He is called Hari because he would remove their suffering and attract their minds. Those of you that are sitting a little bit in the front, look behind you. There's some people that just came in. And the people that just came in would like a place to sit. So those of you that are in, come a little further forward. That was interesting. Okay. The bag gets a special seat. So the meaning of Hari, one who takes away. So one of the things that Hari takes away is the suffering, and he takes their mind. He draws their mind, takes away the material, and gives himself. We heard this one. This is a conversation between Nanda Kumar and Narada Muni and Gopakumar. This means it's part 2, although it's chapter 3, but it's part 2 from the 2 parts. There's what Narada does, and there's what Gopakumar does. Gopakumar, he is hearing from Narada. I worship the pastimes he performed in the early mornings when he entered the Vrindavan forest with his calves and friends. most relishable pastimes, such as entering the mouth of a great serpent after pondering in various ways. So it's a retelling of chapter 12 of Canto 10 by Narada Muni within Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Text 29. See up in the sky, that's the demigods, showering flowers. First, when they saw Krishna entering, they were grief-stricken. Oh no, Krishna's entering the mouth too. Alas, alas. Big clamor. When Krishna heard the demigods crying, he immediately enlarged himself within the demon's throat just to save himself and the cowherd boys. Now, I pointed this out before, I'll point it out again. Up on the top of the head of the Aghasura demon, there's some cowherd boys jumping out. That's because the soul, when he suffocated, we'll do it again. Pythons, I don't know, I'm not an expert in zoology, but my understanding is pythons have a certain size, but they can swallow something that's bigger than their size, much bigger than their size, because they're kind of like an elastic body, and if they can get their mouth around something, they can swallow that something. They can, a whole, like a whole goat or a whole whatever, and it goes in their mouth, and they close their mouth, and there's a big lump in the python where that body is, and then they start digesting it. Power of acidity and whatever, and they digest things whole. And this python is really big. As we heard. How many miles long? 12. No, 8 miles. 8 miles. 8 miles, you're right. Putana was 12. He's only 8 miles long. 8 miles long. And his upper jaw, so Krishna got really big. This was one of her questions. How did Krishna get so big? Because the python was so big. But he got so big inside the body of Aghasura that he suffocated. And that was to kill, so he was able to kill Aghasura at the same time save the cowherd boys. Because Krishna had increased the size of his body, the demon extended his own body to a very large size. Nonetheless, his breathing stopped. He suffocated and his eyes rolled here and there and popped out. The demon's life air, however, could not pass through any outlet, and therefore it finally burst out through a hole in the top of the demon's head. There's some discussion about that. When all the demon's life air had passed through that hole at the top of his head, Krishna glanced over the dead calves and cowherd boys and brought them back to life. It turns out they weren't dead, they were just unconscious. Then Mukunda, who can give one liberation, came out from the demon's mouth with his friends and the calves. So we saw some came out of his head. The calves and boys, Jiva Goswami writes, they seem to be dead. This expresses similarity to human pastimes. Actually, they had fainted out of separation from Krishna, being embraced by his Chit Shakti. So the fainting wasn't the normal, because the cowherd boys aren't normal. They're Satchitananda Vigraha forms. And so Satchitananda Vigraha forms don't go through what we go through. We may faint due to different reasons. And in this case, the description is Chit Shakti. Chit Shakti is the potency of cognizance or knowledge. And that Chit Shakti arranged that their consciousness would be like fainting. from feelings, intense feelings of separation from Krishna. And the separation wasn't being in the mouth of the demon. They couldn't see Krishna. And not seeing Krishna, they fainted through the embrace of his Chit Shakti. Curious painting. From the body of the gigantic python, a glaring effulgence came out, illuminating all directions, and stayed individually in the sky until Krishna came out from the corpse's mouth. Then, as all the demigods looked on, this effulgence entered into Krishna's body. Now we're going to hear a little bit about entering into Krishna's body, because that sounds like Sayuja, and somehow Aghasura got more than Sayuja, although in the initial appearance of things was he entered into Krishna's body. That's Sayuja. Vishwanath writes, the light in the serpent's body was Shuddha Sattva, according to Sridhar Swami. That an evil person can get liberation, as illustrated here, is for instilling faith in the people. Shuddha Sattva, light. That is to say, the body had become purified, we'll hear. Though the soul is normally invisible, embraced by the Shakti of the Lord, this soul became visible directly as a great light. Like the great light of Para Brahman, the light of the soul is not visible to material eyes. It became visible by the Lord's will. Like who has seen a soul, or the light of the soul? I mean, some people have a sense that there's a halo around some saintly person, so that's the light of the soul, because the covering is thin or diminished or non-existent. So a halo, but the luminous supreme has the luminous soul as its counterpart. And normally one doesn't see the soul proper. One may see some effulgence. But the soul proper is not seen, but Krishna made the arrangement so they could all see, all the demigods. Thereafter, everyone being pleased, the demigods began to shower flowers from Nandana Kanana, that's Indra's garden. The celestial dancing girls began to dance, and the Gandharvas, who are famous for singing, offered songs of prayer. So this big racket going on in the heavenly realm, Lord Brahma heard it. Near his planet, because the Bhuvar Svargaloka, so Svargaloka, the heavenly region, and then Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Brahmaloka. So way up in Brahmaloka, he heard this big noise, big ceremony going on near his planet, accompanied by music and songs and sounds of Jaya, Jaya. He immediately came down to see the function. Upon seeing so much glorification of Lord Krishna, he was completely astonished. Now, he's Lord Brahma. He knows who Krishna is, but he's entering, Krishna is drawing him into a pastime. O King Parikshit, Shukadeva says, when the python-shaped body of Aghasura dried up into merely a big skin, it became a wonderful place for the inhabitants of Vrindavan to visit. And it remained so for a long, long time. At least, we're going to hear, after a year, right after Putana was killed, they chopped her body up and burnt the parts of the body. But Aghasura stayed just like the skin of a snake. And it was also fragrant because touched by Krishna. But it remained, at least, because we're going to hear 1 year later, Krishna brought the residents of Vrindavan. See this guy over here? That's the snake demon. He was still there. The body was still there. By the power of Krishna's touch, the demon became successful. What more can be said? As in the case of Putana, even his dead body became fragrant and most attractive. So the painting is a painting of Putana appearing to be a celestial beauty, but behind Putana is the evil demon. I was thinking, I forget how it came to mind, that we heard yesterday about Putana and a little bit about her being a witch. And the name for a witch in Sanskrit is Kechari. But K means sky. And Chari means she was able to move around in the sky. So Kechari is a lady that has the mystic power that she can move around in the sky. Thus, Kechari, a witch. Kechari. And there she is, looking like the goddess of fortune. Far from it. The skin, Sanatana Goswami writes, the skin became suitable for playing, used as an instrument, etc. It stayed there for a long time. It was also used. It was also a cave used for playing in all sorts of ways. Next verse. There was another astonishing event which you should hear about. Though Krishna performed the pastime when he was 5 years old, Kaumarajam, the cowherd boys reported the incident when they were 6 years old, as if the incident, being freed from the mouth of the serpent, happened that day. Got it? 1 year later, they're telling what happened that day, although it was 1 year before. Krishna is the cause of all causes. The causes and effects of the material world, both higher and lower, are all created by the Supreme Lord, the original controller. When Krishna appeared as the son of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, he did so by his causeless mercy, Srajamyaham. Consequently, for him to exhibit his unlimited opulence was not at all wonderful. So Krishna, time is very elastic. Everything is elastic. Krishna can do whatever he likes. Something small becomes big, something big becomes small, time becomes short, time becomes big. Indeed, he showed such great mercy that even Aghasura, the most sinful miscreants, was elevated to being one of his associates in achieving Sarupya Mukti. So this is right in the verse by Shukadeva Goswami. It's not commentary, which is actually impossible for materially contaminated persons to attain. Jiva Goswami comments on this. Agha also attained a similar body to Krishna, Atma Samyam, which was very, very rare for a demon. Sayuja itself is rare for the demons, and Sarupya even rarer, Surdurlabham, as this is reserved for the devotees. Jiva Goswami comments, the Atma was not a demon. The demoniac nature is a covering or upadi. That covering was destroyed. Jiva Goswami, it's not a fault of the Lord to show mercy to his faultless part, that's the soul of Aghasura. Rather, it is praiseworthy, since the Lord showed the highest mercy in destroying the demoniac nature of Agha. And there are many, many examples, and one of our celebrated, more contemporary examples is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, both of them. Lord Nityananda went to give honor to Krishna, to give honor to Lord Chaitanya by rescuing these two wild men, Jagai Madhai, and when one of them, in a drunken stupor, hit Nityananda in the head with a clay pot, and it drew blood, news of this went quickly to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came, as you see, with his right hand raised and the Sudarshan chakra and the end of his finger ready to chop them. And Nityananda stopped him. No, no, no. In this incarnation, you didn't come to kill the demons. You came to destroy their demoniac mentality. Please rescue them. Please save them. So Lord Chaitanya did that. Merciful by the plea of Nityananda. And they became great devotees. They became great. There's a place in Mayapur called Jagai Madhai Ghat. So Lord Chaitanya made them promise to never do these sinful activities again. And that they fall at the feet of Nityananda and beg forgiveness. So they did both of those things. But they did a third thing. They built a ghat where pilgrims who wanted to take bath in the Ganges, and there's a steep enough slope, so they had made little steps to go down to take bath in the Ganges, and they stood Jai and Vijay like on either side of the ghat, and with folded palms asked forgiveness for all the residents of Navadvip who they had offended and done bad things with. People were very happy to see these very repentant, now purified Jagai Madhai, Vaishnavas. So like that, the pastime is different, but like that, the soul of Aghasura was given Sarupya Mukti. Krishna took pleasure in entering the mouth of Aghasura in a sporting spirit along with his associates. Therefore, this is the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust version, or it's actually Srila Prabhupada. It's Srila Prabhupada's purport because he's still writing these purports. When Aghasura, by that sporting association, as maintained in the spiritual world, was purified of all contamination, he attained Sarupya Mukti by the grace of Krishna. There's only a few more verses in the chapter. If even only once, or even by force, one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into one's mind, one can attain the supreme salvation by the mercy of Krishna, as did Aghasura. It's directly a verse in the Bhagavatam. It's what one of the messages of this whole pastime. What then is to be said of those whose hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters when he appears as an incarnation, or those who always think of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the source of transcendental bliss for all living entities, and by whom all illusion is completely removed. So now comes commentary. He didn't go to Goloka because he wasn't qualified to enter Goloka. He didn't have the credential. But the Sarupya Mukti that he received was in Vaikuntha. Vishwanath writes, from the statement that Aghasura's body became the playground for the boys for many days, it should be understood that the demon's unfavorable attitude had been transformed into favorable attitude, and that he had attained Sarupya in Vaikuntha, but he did not attain a form in Vrindavan because of his lack of that particular type of bhakti. Still pretty nice. Attained Vaikuntha. in a form like the Lord's. So here's a nice IT illustration or drawing of the Aghasura demon, big guy. So now Sutta starts to speak because it's been Shukadeva Goswami, but Shukadeva Goswami is being quoted by Sutta Goswami in Naimisharanya. Sutta says, "Oh, learned saints, the childhood pastimes of Sri Krishna are very wonderful. Maharaj Parikshit, after hearing about those pastimes of Krishna, who had saved him in the womb of his mother, became steady in his mind and again inquired from Shukadev to hear about those pious activities." Now, those pious activities, again, it doesn't mean material piety, because that's one of the meanings of pious, but there's another meaning. This verse number 40. Jiva Goswami's commentary. Suddenly, Sutta speaks. Out of great bliss, he praises Shukadeva and Parikshit. Parikshit's heart was afflicted by the appearance of prema in separation from the Lord. Parikshit asks to hear more because the topics are most auspicious. So here he's asking for more. How could things done in the past have been described as done in the present? So 1 year ago, and then he's in the present saying something that happened 1 year ago as if it was present. Clear? Good. Sutta Goswami said, when Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukadev Goswami in this way, Shukadev Goswami, immediately remembering subject matters about Krishna within the core of his heart, externally lost contact with the action of his senses. He entered a state of samadhi. Thereafter, with great difficulty, he revived his external sensory perception, began to speak to Maharaj Parikshit about Krishna Katha. So that's the end of chapter 12. Here's a little comment. We heard some comment by both Bhaktisiddhanta and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Here's additional comments by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The snake named Agha, who was the form of cruelty, was subdued. After this, the Lord had a picnic of simplicity, because that's what's the beginning of the next chapter, chapter 13. They sit down to have a picnic. The personality of cruelty, or the form of cruelty, was demolished, subdued. Then simplicity. Anarthas that can be overcome by studying and meditating on Brahma Vimohan Leela pastime, cruelty, violence, lack of compassion for others, hatred. So that's the upcoming chapter, the Brahma Vimohan Leela pastime. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur is appreciating these are benefits to be derived, but because one follows the other. When Brahma Vimohan Leela happened is because he saw at least the conclusion of the pastime. He saw the liberation, the soul of this fantastically huge python leaving the body, and he saw that bright light that went into the sky, etc., emerged into the body of Krishna. He saw Krishna liberate this big demon, powerful demon. And meditating on that and the subsequent pastime, it helps the person who's studying and meditating on these pastimes to overcome the material fault or dosha, as we already discussed a little bit yesterday evening about different types of unknowingly engaging in these kinds of offenses. Now, that's the end, and there's another something like 15, 16 slides, just different museums around the world. I'll go quickly. There are different museums around the world that have paintings in their museum portraying the pastime. Here's an art museum in San Diego showing this pastime. Of course, the art style is a little different than in other places. Some more of these particular illustrations. In Jaipur, there's a certain hall that has this image. Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. There's the cow on the right, the cowboy is entering, and on the left, they're leaving through the top of his head. Rajasthan, there's the leaving at the upstairs on the upper portion. They're entering at the bottom portion. Walther's Art Museum, I don't know where that is. Another depiction and another depiction. It's a celebrated, you get the idea, it's a celebrated pastime. Here's Krishna sitting there inside the mouth of Aghasura. Brooklyn Museum of Art, another painting. Here's a sculpture at the side of the Radha Govindaji temple in West Bengal, and more art and so forth. So here's another verse from Gopal Sahasranam by Lord Shiva. He who killed Aghasura, liberated Putana, enjoyed pastime with Kubja, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Bhagavan. He became the death of Kamsa and is worshipped in all yagyas. This is a series of prayers glorifying him, and a little logo over there on the right. So that's our final slide. So right in the center of the painting, that's Aghasura. And the cowherd boys over on the left playing, and then they're entering into the mouth of Aghasura, and Krishna kills Aghasura. All in a day of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. But the day is just getting started, because they're just having breakfast. A late breakfast, but they're having breakfast. And then other interesting things happen the same day. It's a really busy day. We sometimes have busy days, but not like Krishna's busy days. And ours aren't exactly pastimes either, happening because of our Leela Shakti, and attracting the hearts and the minds of everyone. Let's see if there's some discussion. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. In one of the slides, Srila Sridhar Swami said, the light from the serpent's body was Shuddha Sattva for instilling faith in the people. But his inner intentions were all evil. So I'm confused about how is this Shuddha Sattva?
Because faith means to see how merciful is Krishna. Like Putana. How to see how merciful is Krishna. That whole Bhakti Kalakutam verse. How merciful is Krishna. So Aghasura, similarly, just Putana came with some service. He didn't do any service. And look what happened. He gives faith. So everyone could see. So it instilled faith. Krishna is very kind. And he's very kind. He doesn't need that demonstration, but when he gives the demonstration, that's what it's doing. It instills faith. Okay. Anything else? Go ahead.
I had a question. Krishna can grow big, you said. So does Krishna have a limit to what
No.
the amount?
No limit. We're limited, but Krishna's not. How do you think of something that has no limit? You can't, because our mind can't encompass that which has no limit. Because anything we can think of, it has a limit. But Krishna's beyond that. So don't worry. He's beyond the mind to encompass. You can't expand the mind and expand the mind and expand the mind and then put Krishna inside. There he is. Playful little boy. Okay, anyone else back here?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, in one of the slides you showed that to the cowherd boys, Krishna takes away the tendency to do
Krishna does what?
takes away the tendency to do karma or something to that accord.
Okay, I remember. You're not repeating exactly, but
Yes.
good enough. I got the
Yes, yes.
idea.
So is it only to the Vrajavasis or
No.
It-
Bhakti. Not only Brajvasis have bhakti. They have a particular type of bhakti. Okay? Up front.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, is the answer to Parikshit Maharaj's question towards the end Leela Shakti? That's how the boys were narrating as if it just happened now instead of 1 year back?
Well, a little bit more detail, yes, but a little bit more detail. It's here's the detail. The cowherd boys, you heard in this audience, you heard there's 3 sets of cowherd boys. Anyone here not hear the 3 sets of cowherd boys example? You've all heard it. Okay, you're not, okay. This is chapter 13. We didn't get there yet, but chapter 13, Brahma sees all of this happening, and he sees Krishna sitting there, beginning of chapter 13. It's time for lunch. Aghasura is dead. It's time for lunch. So Krishna picks a spot very close to the river Jamuna in a sandy spot, and the boys sit down with Krishna in the center, and they're having their breakfast or lunch. And as they're having their lunch, they selected a place where there's grass nearby so the calves can have some grass. But the calves started wandering as calves would do. And then the cowherd boys noticed the calves had gone away. And Krishna said, "Don't worry, I'll find the calves. You finish your lunch." So he volunteered to be because he knew he had a pastime. So when Krishna went away to look for the calves, Brahma came with a plan. The plan was he was going to kidnap the calves and the cowherd boys. So Krishna knew that. It was his Leela anyways. So he knew that. So 3 things. 1, Krishna summoned his Yogamaya potency to take the eternal Satchitananda Vigraha cowherd boys and conceal them. Didn't say where he put them, or Yogamaya put them, but that was the assignment. Assignment number 2. Krishna, by the reflection of Yogamaya potency, that's the Mahamaya potency, correct? Mahamaya manifested exact replicas of each of the cowherd boys. So now we have 2, the original and the replicas. Those replicas are the ones that Brahma kidnapped, because he put them in the cave and put them to sleep by his mystic power, and came back to see what's Krishna going to do. When he came back to see what's Krishna going to do, there's all the cowherd boys. That's the 3rd set. The 3rd set was Krishna himself, manifesting an exact likeness of each of the calves and each of the cowherd boys for a whole year. So this is the question, this is the situation. For a whole year, the mothers and the cows were engaging with Krishna and Krishna as their calf for 1 year. Now the original cowherd boys were under the influence of Yogamaya, under her care, and for them no time had passed at all. It's like anesthesia. You know what that's like? You have an idea? You have an idea. There's no sense of passage of time. You know, that an operation can take hours, and when the anesthesia wears off, it's like no time has passed. There's some pain because something happened, because the stitches or whatever it is. But so time is flexible. So 1 year had passed, but they didn't recognize that any time had passed. In fact, when the Leela was done, Yogamaya brought the cowherd boys back to the very same spot, and Krishna's there in the original Krishna form and the original cowherd boy form. So that of the 3, the originals are back, and it's as if no time had passed. Krishna's sitting there with the same lump of yogurt and rice in his hand, and they say, Krishna, you haven't eaten anything. You're too absorbed in us. So go ahead, you have your lunch. As if nothing happened. They didn't miss. They didn't feel time. Nothing happened. By Yogamaya's arrangement. And then they went back home at the end of the day, telling what happened that day to their mothers as something that happened a year ago. Because the ones that went back that day, when the first thing happened, they didn't say something happened. They didn't say, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, guess what? They didn't say, because it's Krishna who would have spoiled the Leela. They didn't know there was duplicates. They didn't know anything happened. Then that 1 year later, they said as if it happened the same day. Guess what happened? What happened? Da, 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 da. Krishna did it again. He finished this terrible demon. Okay? It take care of your question? I mean, if you're gonna have pastimes, you got to have potencies like Krishna has. You can move time, move space. No problem at all. You can manifest multiple of yourself. You can do anything you like. But it's for the purpose of that. It's not just whimsical. It's stimulating love in the various devotees in various ways. Enhancing the loving exchange. That's rasa. And so Krishna is rasa. So that's Krishna's pastimes. And the contradictory becomes resolved. Or Leela Shakti resolves, because it's just the appearance of X, Y, or Z by Leela Shakti's arrangement. Yogamaya, another Maya. But it's the transcendental Maya. That's what really is. Because what really is the absolute truth personality of Godhead, the Supreme Being. and they're directly engaged with him. And we have the good fortune of hearing about it over here in Portland, Oregon, about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his loving dealings with his devotees. It's very special. Shh, don't tell anybody. Tell everybody. Okay. Others? Yes?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for all different Acharya's commentaries on this past day. Thank you so much. If you don't mind, I have a question from yesterday's
From yesterday, okay.
slide, one of the slide. We had a statement by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati where it says there is no substantive difference between love for Krishna and kindness to individual souls. So I have a question about
Everyone was questioning that one.
Yeah, while it was questioning about the kindness, yesterday I couldn't get a chance to ask that question. Yeah. So related to the same kindness, practically, I feel like we are doing some things like doing pest control for our home, and for protecting the plants, we are applying some insecticides, pesticides, etc. So how to see that? How can, should we stop doing that, or?
Well, we discussed this, but we'll go through it again. No problem. Best is clean, because not clean invites not clean. Living entities that thrive in not clean won't stay when it's clean. They'll find another place that's not clean. They won't stay. So you drive them away by cleanliness, not just by insecticide, pesticides. Now, in an environment like homes in the West, that's certainly possible. And there's some other places that's not as easy, without naming names of places, but it's not so easy. So supposing you go camping. You've gone camping? Have you gone camping? No, you haven't gone camping. Someday. Who knows? And if you go camping, there's mosquitoes, usually. And then, so what do you do when there's mosquitoes? Here's Srila Prabhupada. When the mosquito attacks, then you can kill them. If they're drilling a hole in your skin, they're the aggressor, and then you can, kill them. But otherwise, you don't. They're just buzzing around. You don't spray them or pesticide, and so there's some standards. There's different parts of the world. There's different ways that people have for doing things, but the main thing is cleanliness. It drives away pests and ghosts and other things. It's okay?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. So my question is regarding the super soul giving us tendency for karma. It reminded me of the Bhagavad Gita verse where it states that the super soul directs the wanderings of all living entities and as if seated on a machine. So I have two questions. So how much of our sinful tendencies...
You don't have to read it. You must know what your question is. You're a smart man. Go ahead.
How much of our sinful tendencies are out of our free will, or are they induced by the super soul making us act out
No.
past
None of it's
karma?
induced by super soul. Super soul knows our inclination and supplies the intelligence to match our inclination. He doesn't induce the inclination. We do. We're making choices, and according to our choices, he gives us the intelligence how to do this or do that. He doesn't induce our inclinations.
So the super soul can act as our best friend and yet
Yeah.
facilitate our
Yeah, that's
tendencies.
yes, you have some friends. Your good friends are people that help you make right, wise choices.
Thank you.
And that's they're in touch with super soul because they're helping you make the super soul right choices, types of choices. But intelligence is also given to demons to do what demons do, or forgetfulness, etc., according to their inclination. Okay, looks like we're done. Here's another one. Right behind you.
Hey Krishna Maharaj, I'm sorry I had to miss the previous sessions on Aghasur, but did you mention about Lord Balaram being present?
He was not present.
Seemed like Kaliya fast time, or?
There's a reason why? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he would have KO'd Aghasura. But it would have messed up the Leela. So he was intentionally not present by Krishna's plan. There was different reasons why not, given by our acharyas, which can mean different things, but different days of Brahma, for example, but he wasn't there because it would have messed up the Leela.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, just a small conceptual clarification. In one of the slides, it was said that the Atma of Aghasur was not demoniac.
Right.
It was just the covering or upadhi which was destroyed.
Yes.
Does this mean there are demonic Atmas? I always thought it's
No,
just
it
the
doesn't
covering.
mean that.
Okay.
It's including all Atmas, because the Atma is pure. It's not demoniac. It's a great gift in the case of Aghasura or others to be killed by the Supreme Lord, because the sinfulness and reactions and even tendency is taken away. But it's not of the soul, so that's the meaning. It's not all souls are. All souls are by nature divine, but the covering is not. But when the covering becomes made divine by contact with Krishna, then the soul is in its natural and thus liberated position. That's the meaning. Okay. Well, it was a fantastic journey together. And sometime in the future, let's see what happens. But there's subsequent chapters that are all very wonderful. And I'll just share that chapter 14 has 60 verses, and 40 of those 60 verses are prayers. And it took 6 classes to cover the 40 verses prayers. And really nice prayers, really rich, really sublime. And Brahma is although he's the receiver of the Vedas directly from Krishna, his visit in this particular, just after this particular Leela and the Brahma Vimohan Leela that follows this particular Leela, he has now an affinity that he wants to live in Vrindavan. Just by this visit, this one visit. Of course, lots of nice things happen during that one visit. That's in chapter 13. But his prayers are, he wants, and how does Krishna respond? Because this day of Brahma, this universe isn't done. He has to be Brahma for the rest of the universe. So he goes back to Brahmaloka and does Brahma's thing. But he has this seed of a desire to be a Brijbasi, of one species or another somehow in the association with Krishna and Krishna's pastimes. And that's how affinity for becoming an eternal associate of Krishna in Vrindavan starts. It's just by what we're doing right now and what Brahma did. And then there's additional, of course, cultivation, teachings and principles and practices that can help us achieve that. And that's another seminar. That's another book, another teaching. Raghunath Das Goswami teaches how to enter into Vrindavan and engage eternally in Radha Krishna's loving dealings with them in some capacity or another. But it starts with a seed. The seed starts just by what we're doing, just hearing. The attractiveness of Krishna can draw the mind from the material to the spiritual. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.